This person wants to reach, so they say that they're currently in stage 1 and they want to reach B2-ish in Arabic in 1 year, which is a category 4 language, very different from English, that sort of thing. They did combine the Refold stage and the CEFR thing, so it's not super clear the pathway, but I think we get the general gist of basically a beginner to fairly decently functional, not super duper fluent, but can do stuff.
Are they referring to stage 2B in Refold, or are they referring to CEFR B2?
B2.
Okay.
Unless they typoed, but I'm pretty sure it's B2.
Actual CEFR B2.
Yes. And so they say that, do you think that 4 to 5 hours per day is enough for my Arabic to reach stage or level B2 plus or minus B2 before 2024 summer?
That's tough. For context, the folks over at the Defense Language Institute for a language like Arabic will do 18 months of basically 8 hours a day in a classroom plus homework to achieve functional fluency. So 4 to 5 hours on your own per day seems unlikely to get you to like true CEFR B2. There's lots of tests online that will tell you you're B2. I mean, there's lots of tutors online that will tell you you're B2, but like actually taking the test and getting certified on it is sort of a different story. There's also sort of a question of the description of what B2 says versus what they actually test for, but that's a whole other conversation. So I'm not 100% sure which level you're aiming for.
My guess is that they want to be able to go to the country, talk to people, not have to use English, and have a very good time. Something like that is my general guess, but not really sure.
Yeah.
B2 is typically used as a stand-in for pretty good, but still got a lot of way to go.
Yeah. So if this were a client asking me this, I would actually try and really dig into what their goal is.
Right.
Because the goal is really going to determine the pathway to that goal. So if it is stage 2B Refold, then yeah, probably you can get there. It's actually not that hard to get to stage 2B. It just takes time. If you're talking about B2 from I can casually converse with people in the language and get around and have fun on a trip, then yes, you can totally do that. You're going to want to take a hybrid approach where you do immersion and then you also do some speaking practice before you go to the language, go to the country. If your goal is sort of B2 from people think you're B2, like tutors will tell you you're B2 and you can have those conversations, same deal. If your goal is to actually pass the test, then that is likely a bit harder and unlikely in just a year of 4 or 5 hours a day. I think it'll probably take a little bit longer than that.
It's also the difficulty of you have to both learn the language and learn the test, which are not the same thing.
Yeah. One of the pieces of advice that a lot of CEFR tutors will tell you is take the test after you've reached the level, because you need to achieve that level in the language, and then you need to learn how to test on it. And the test is not normal. It's not immersion content. I guarantee it's not anime. So you have to learn how to read things and parse them. There's a whole there's confusing little logic puzzles in it sometimes. I was practicing with the C2 test in Spanish recently, and there was a thing where it was deliberately confusing. It was two things that these two paragraphs, either one of them could apply to the question, and you have to logic through it and try and figure out which one they actually meant. That style of thinking and doing it in a different language is very different than I can speak and understand.
Okay, I was going to jump in and go back to this idea that we just talked about in the last question about starting and making sure that you have a good solid habit, and then increasing amount of time every month or so, and looking sort of at a simple calculation of this. If let's say the target of fluency in Arabic is 3,900 hours, which is pretty reasonable for a category 4 language. There'll definitely still be more to learn, but that's a good starting place to get to. If you're willing to go up to 4 hours a day, and you start with an hour a day and then increase by half an hour every month. So the first month is an hour, second month is hour and a half, third month is 2 hours, and et cetera, you can get to that 20% number, 20% of those hours in about 9 months or so. And then for that last 3 months, you can absolutely ramp up your time. You can add an additional hour of speaking practice with maybe with a tutor, that sort of thing. And I think that within 1 year, you can absolutely achieve results that are very solid for travel, for expressing yourself in the language, and having a good time, because you sort of beat that tough part, and you kept immersing, and then you also focused on being able to express yourself and speak and that kind of thing. You're still not going to be amazing, pretty much guaranteed, because but if you start doing that and then you keep going for the next two years or so, you'll absolutely reach that number of around 4,000 hours and become quite functional and I assume content with your ability in the language. But like Ethan said, if you're trying to go for the B2 test, that's a different beast. And I personally don't have suggestions for that kind of at all. So that's what I have to say on that.
All right. So depends on your goal is the answer.
Great.